guys, and welcome back to my channel. Alright, so we are on to the final video from my how to read your birth chart set of videos. Okay, so I've made 3 of them. We looked at the basic how to read your birth chart, then we moved on to the intermediate how to read your birth chart, looking between the 2 different videos there. So I'm going to obviously put all the links in the description box if you haven't watched them already. So yeah, we're on to the advanced video today. So far throughout these videos we've discussed how to really create your own system. So a system for yourself that really works best for you, and how to understand the general ins and outs of your chart. So the first video was the basic one of the glyphs and symbols, planets, signs, houses, elements, modes, and that was a way to get yourself really familiar with everything. And then the second video was looking at interceptions, duplicated signs, retrogrades, and that one was mainly for those of you who choose to use the Placidus or the default system. Naturally, of course, it was to give an understanding into retrogrades in general, right? The third video, we extended that further and we addressed your chart ruler, we addressed your dominant signs and planets within your chart, and we also looked at what exactly a stellium is, particularly because stelliums seem to, I think, go hand in hand with dominant signs in that way, because if you do have a stellium, then that can really play into you being for example, if you've got a Capricorn stellium, then it's going to play into you having Capricorn as your dominant sign. Of course, I just want to highlight here that it does not have to be in this order in the way I've been making these videos. It is really about what works best for you. But my main point of focus, for me, is really to teach you all that your chart, right? Your chart is this bigger picture, this whole, which consists of so many smaller details that ultimately contribute to the greater whole, and vice versa. So on to the advanced section, where we're going to be touching on aspects, we're going to be touching on configurations, degrees, decans or decadence, and just connectivity overall. I would just like to highlight, guys, that the information that I'm about to discuss today is going to be extremely general, because when it comes to such things as aspects and degrees, there's so much information that can be expanded upon, that you could discuss and talk about, because it's mind-blowing really how many interpretations and how many avenues and ways to look at the chart. And this right here, guys, is what makes astrology a highly complex, slightly misunderstood, and lifetime learning study. Another quick thing as well here is that to keep in mind that there are such things as transit charts, progress charts, solar returns, so on and so forth. There's other charts to look at, but we're just focusing on the natal birth chart for the purpose of these videos. Alright, so aspects. What exactly are aspects? Aspects show us how the personality parts represented by the planets and points, how they interact within us. They show us the degree and the nature of our own talents, conflicts, and adjustments. So really looking at how the planets link up, meaning how does one part of your personality link up with another part of your personality. Aspects are basically the lines of power between the centers of energy, being the planets as they play within you. So when we look at a birth chart, and we can see here, you see these lines going on in the middle of your chart, they are showing you your aspects and your configurations, but we're going to get onto configurations in just a moment. But guys, just as you, we all have a choice when it comes to utilizing parts of our chart, we too have choices about how to utilize our aspects. And this right here is what makes astrology extremely personal to the individual, but also so expansive with its multitude of options. Because much like each planet position can be expressed in many ways, right? There's so many ways that I've been highlighting here. There's also options for expressing each aspect relationship between the planets. So if you take this chart here, right, and you can see that I've highlighted there's the sun up here, the moon is down here, and there's a line going on between them. This line is showing you that they are in aspect with one another. So this is showing you the relationship going on between these two planetary points. Now when it does come to this analogy that I've been using throughout these videos, with the planet being the actor, and then the sign being the character of the actor, and the house being the stage set, well. Now it is about understanding that you, my love, you, whoever watching this, who you are the actor. These actors and characters are playing out, they're performing within yourself. And it's the aspects that are being used as these imaginary chords, imaginary lines that are connecting them all together. Because, right, even how you behave within the workplace, for example, whilst you behave differently in the comfort of your own home, well, these behaviors, they sort of feed into one another. That your personal vibration is an accumulation of all you are in every given moment. And so naturally, when it comes to this actor, character, stage set analogy that we have been using throughout these videos, yes, this analogy is a great way in order for us to understand how they all connect. But as soon as we grasp the connectivity, you get the greater whole. That you are a complete being. You are complete within yourself entirely. So what I've done is I have created a table with the aspects on it. And I just want to highlight here that there are major and minor aspects, but there's also like the table that I have, or the ones that I have here. This is not all of the aspects written. There's others as well. But how I have accumulated this is I put major and minor onto the same table, and I've put them all in their order of degrees, so 0 to 10, and that goes to 180. That's just how I personally remember it. Naturally, we have all of the symbols here, so when it comes to locating your aspects, you can see that they're presented here. Very similar to what I've done here with the symbols. So for example, if I see here there's the sun and there's the opposite symbol, so the opposition, that's the same symbol. And then if I look here, that's a conjunct symbol. I go here, conjunct. What I've also done is I've put numbers 0 to 6 along here, and this is to show me, just to show me that if it's 0, so with the conjunction, it means that the planets, the two planets or points, are going to be within the same sign. The number 1, that shows to me that a planet is going to be in one sign, but then, so for example, Mars could be in Virgo, but then Venus could be in Libra, the sign next to it. So that's one sign apart. The number 2 naturally is 2 signs apart. The number 3 is 3 signs apart. 4 is 4 signs apart. 5 is 5 signs apart. And then 6 is 6 signs apart. And naturally, of course, the degrees have been written in there as well. And lastly, I have put just some keywords just to keep in mind. So I think keywords are really great. Those words that just you can remember easily, they'll come quick to you. So if you can remember that keyword, then you'd be like, oh, right, okay, so potential. Potential with the quintile. Okay, right, keep that in mind, log that. So when it comes to you analysing that between two planets, you can be like, oh right, so there is a potential between these two planets. This is just really a great way to remember the aspects, I think. Now, along with the aspects, I should mention here, comes what's known as orbs. You've probably heard that term before, but what exactly does that mean? What's an orb? Now, more often than not, the angles between the planets never exactly match the standard definition of aspects. So this is when orbs come into play. So say, for example, you have two planets that are trine one another. So we'll say that Mars is at 4 degrees in the sign of Sagittarius, but the Sun is at 7 degrees in the sign of Aries. So already we are noticing here that these two planets are making a trine aspect, but the trine itself is at 123 degrees. And the reason for why they are 123 degrees apart, well, for one, right, the thing about the degrees is that each sign is 30 degrees, always, right? Keep that logged. Each sign is always 30 degrees. It never changes. However, the degrees of the houses, they can change depending on the house system used. So if a sign is in fact 30 degrees, if we have this Mars that is in the sign of Sagittarius at 4 degrees, 30 minus 4, right, is 26. So you have 26 degrees. Then we go on to the sign of Capricorn, 30 degrees, the sign of Aquarius, 30 degrees, the sign of Pisces, 30 degrees. So we've got 3 of those 30s. 3 times 30 is 90. But you've also got this 26 degrees from Sagittarius. 90 plus 26 is 116. But remember, the Sun is in Aries at 7 degrees. So we also add 7 onto 116, making it 123. Now remember, a trine, you see, the trine is a 120 degree angle. But these planets are making a 123 angle. And this is where the orb comes in. Meaning that the orb is at 3 degrees because it's 3 degrees over. Could also be the same situation if the angle is at 117 degrees because that's going 3 degrees below the 120. So it's 3 degrees again, but the orb is still 3 degrees either way. Ultimately, guys, it is the orb that shows us how the two planets differ in exactness. I also try to imagine it like an actual orb. So like you just think of the little circle. So it's like trying to hug it in. It's creating this sort of aura, this like little shelter, trying to bring the planet in, like, come on, come in here. And this leads us on then to configurations. Now, configurations are when aspects configurate in certain ways and they create patterns. So again, back to the chart, you look at the chart and you can see all these lines going on. And right away, we notice that I've done this red, what do you call it? This red triangle, yes, this red triangle in the middle. This right here is creating a configuration. It is creating a pattern, a geometric shape. Configurations, these geometric shapes within your chart that shows you powerful energy forces that are occurring between 3 or more planets in your chart. I'm going to show you an example of the configuration, but before I show you an example, I'm just going to go over a few different really popular ones so you can get a fair idea as to what they are. So firstly, a popular one is the stellium. Okay, we did talk about the stellium in the intermediate video, the video before this. And yeah, I mentioned in that video that a stellium occurs when there are 3, 4 or more planets within the same sign or house. We also have the T-square, so that's when 2 planets oppose one another at 180 degrees, okay, so they're opposite one another. But then these 2 planets, as you know, these 2 planets, they also square another planet. So it's just like this one we're going to talk about today. This is a T-square. Yeah, it's the T-square. They are, the sun and the moon are opposite, but then the sun is square Saturn and the moon is also square Saturn in the chart. Good idea to also look down here in order to figure it out. You will notice that, here we go, there's the opposition sign to show us they are in fact opposite. And then we go to the moon symbol. We run along down and we see that there is a square here and it's going across to Saturn. Okay, the symbol for Saturn here. And also the same with the sun. Okay, running along down, there's a square, you go across and it's going towards Saturn again. Another popular one is the Grand Cross. This is when 4 planets make an aspect with one another. So it occurs when there's the 4 planets that are making 90-degree angles and they're creating the square in your chart. But at the same time, there is an opposition occurring from this side to this side and this side to this side. Naturally, with these 2 configurations, so the T-square and the Grand Cross, squares are there, oppositions are there, they've both been highlighted. So if you go to your table, you'll be able to read a keyword in order to get familiar with, oh, okay, that's what that means. So square, tension and obstacles, opposition, projection, reflection, me versus you, in which it can show a rather disharmonious energy flow between the planets. Another popular configuration is the Grand Trine. And this is when 3 planets make a 120-degree angle between one another, and they are placed at equal distances apart. It ultimately just creates the triangle, like this triangle within your chart. And again, you go to look at your sheet and you look up what trine, what's trine all about, and it says here, harmony and flow. Okay. Another popular one is one that I've mentioned in one of my moon videos recently, and that's the yod. I called it a yod in that video, but it's a yod. This occurs when there's 2 planets that are 60 degrees apart, so they create a sextile, and then both of these planets are forming an inconjunct aspect with one another, so 150 degrees. And naturally, the yod is known as the finger of God or the finger of fate, essentially meaning that this configuration can show this huge surge, this shot of so much potential for this individual of wherever the configuration is playing out. So let's do an example of one of the configurations. We're going to look at this T-square, which, as I said, it has Sun in Cancer opposite Moon in Capricorn. Then it also has Sun in Cancer square Saturn in Aries, and the Moon in Capricorn square Saturn in Aries. First thing to do is to go to your keywords and we'll see opposition, me versus you, project, reflect, square, tension and obstacles. Second thing to do then is to look up Sun in Cancer and also Sun in Cancer in the 10th house because it's in their 10th house. Moon in Capricorn and also Moon in Capricorn in the 5th house because it's in their 5th house. And lastly, Saturn in Aries and then Saturn in Aries in the 8th house. So just as we talked about with the first video of breaking everything down and then blending them together, we're also combining it with this T-square aspect or configuration rather that is going on. So what we instantly see, what I instantly see anyway from my own analysis of this T-square, is that this person is going to have an emotional work ethic into whatever they create. And I can see that from their Moon in Capricorn in the 5th house. But this then opposes their conscious sense of self that feels like they need to live out their life purpose in order to feel comfortable within themselves. And I see that from their Sun in Cancer in the 10th house. Now, whilst this sounds like it can line up very, very well, which it can if they can learn to balance these energies. However, because they oppose, it could be that whilst one side is emotionally invested in working on the creative pursuits, the other side is screaming for a bigger, much more substantial meaning for why they are creating. And so they might often ask themselves, What is all of this for? Why am I doing this? I'm hardworking, I'm driven, and I'm ambitious, but it seems like as part of me wants to be recognized and acknowledged for my work and creations, the other part of me wants to stay at home and just create for myself to acknowledge that I did a good job internally. And so in this way, this person might be a battle within themselves over whether or not to pursue something that they truly want for themselves, due to fears of not being able to handle the potential recognition that comes along with it, or the potential ridicule that can come along with it. But because both the sun and the moon are square Saturn in Aries in the 8th house, this is showing us that there is this me versus you process. There's opposition between the sun and the moon being impacted by Saturn, right, in this sort of tension and obstacles process, meaning that many lessons for this person is going to be in relation to what they truly want, teaching them to be patient within themselves, to feel into what they want. And I mean really feel, because they have sun in Cancer, moon in Capricorn, so there's also this tug of war that's going on between their emotions. But because Saturn is in the 8th house, it's going to kick their ass with some profound lessons when it comes to their unconscious. I'm just going to put this out there, right? But maybe for this person, could it be that they unconsciously are trying to live up to what their father wanted them to do? Their father wanted them to pursue. Maybe they want to make their father proud, but this is happening on an unconscious level. And that's not to say that they have a bad relationship with their father. In fact, I can sort of see from the chart that they've got this 10th house stellium, they've got Venus conjunct their MC, and I can see that potentially they actually admired their father. They admired their father's work ethic. But because Saturn is in the 8th house, this person is going to find out through this intimate bonding with a potential partner some serious lessons about themselves. This potential partner just might come along and challenge this person when it comes to their sun and moon opposition. They might be like, stop denying yourself from what you feel that you deserve. In fact, this might be the type of person who is this way, but it is going to psychologically, unconsciously going to play out inside of the person with this chart. Or it could be that they figure out this wake-up call through their father, where there is a breaking point, where there is a point that they reach where they're like, no more. No more living out what my father wants. What do I want? What do I want? Yeah, this person just might have a tower moment where it all just seems like it's crumbling down internally. This is internally. But they're going to understand. They're going to come to realize that whatever it is they're holding on to from out of fear, that it's going to be transformed in order for them to step into them being their own authority and taking control of their life, of what they truly want to do. Alright, so moving on to degrees. We have established, of course, with the signs being 30 degrees each, but naturally the circle, the birth chart, is 360 degrees. 360 degrees as the circle is. Like I said, signs are always 30 degrees. Houses can differ in degrees, where the planets are based in the chart. So within this chart we see that Saturn is at 7 degrees in Aries, and we also see that Pluto is at 0 degrees in Sagittarius. The reason for why the degrees are so important is because they show us how far along the planets are in their circuit as they move throughout your birth chart. So this right here is a snapshot of where all the planets were during the time of your birth. So they're set, this is set, but keep in mind the planets are still going regardless, right? So it's just one snap, the story still continues. And this is where the likes of your progress chart comes into play and your transits and so on. And naturally, the degrees also show us how large our houses are as well, depending on the system that we use. In fact, this is when numerology can be implemented into it. Some great numerologists and astrologers that you should definitely check out here on YouTube are Bridget Love and Gregory Scott. Yes, they would make videos about numerology as well. So definitely go and check them out. And this is also where critical degrees come into play. Now, critical degrees are considered to be sensitive or strengthening points in the chart. A critical degree of a planet, according to Cafe Astrology, the critical degree of the planet is emphasized and it might assume more power in the life of the individual. These critical degrees include the likes of 0 degrees and 29 degrees of any sign. So say for example you have 0 degrees Pluto in the sign of Sagittarius, then that means it's a critical degree. Or if you have your Sun at 29 degrees in Taurus, then that would mean that that's also at a critical degree. In a general sense, 0 degrees, they signify beginnings of the energy. They signify newness, freshness. So if you have 0 degree Sun in Aquarius or Aries, it's kind of like that Sun in Aquarius or Aries is starting with a clean slate. The energy is very potent. Potent, I look at it as. It's the purity of the sign. It's very obvious. The sign is in its essence. Then when it comes to 29 degrees, this signifies the end of a familiar path. This is to do with evaluation and really reassessing, and it's about this turning point in the person's life. And this leads me on then to Decans and Decans. Alright, so I don't really do much work on Decans at this time, during this moment in time. I might, but I want to tell you about them anyway. So as I've said, each sign is at 30 degrees, guys. And of course there are 4 elements, and there's 3 signs in each element. 4 times 3 is 12, so there's your 12 signs. 12 times 30, 360, so 360 degree circle. Now because each of the 4 elements are comprised of 3 signs, if 30 degrees is in each sign, 30 divided by 3 is 10 degrees. And each of these 10 degrees is a decan. Now the first 10 degrees show us the nature of the sign itself. The second 10 degrees show us the nature of the next sign of the same element. And then the third 10 degree shows us the nature of the next sign of the same element as well. What you do then is you look at the planets that rule each sign. So say for example, we look at this birth chart, right? We see here, the rising sign is in Virgo, and it is at 11 degrees Virgo. 0 to 10 degrees of Virgo is Virgo, so that's Mercury, because they're ruling planets. 10 to 20 degrees of Virgo is Virgo, Capricorn, so Mercury, Saturn. And then 20 to 30 degrees of Virgo is Virgo, Taurus, so Mercury and Venus. Like I said, the rising sign is at 11 degrees Virgo, meaning that this person is going to have the Virgo, Capricorn with Mercury and Saturn. Essentially meaning that this person, whilst yes, Virgo rising, but also is going to have this Saturnian impact due to being in 11 degrees. Alright, so they were just some very basic details when it comes to degrees and decans and things. I didn't really go into much detail or use many examples. I just really wanted to inform you about those things, and then you can just see for yourself how big, vast, complex astrology really is, and there's so many things to take into consideration. And I even understand for myself that I'm still learning, so yeah, I hope that these videos helped you to understand how to read a birth chart better, or at all. If you are just getting into astrology or learning about reading a birth chart. And that's really it, guys. That's the advanced how to read your birth chart video. Just want to say a big thank you to all of you for watching as always, and also the fact that we've hit over 30,000 subscribers here on Hannah's Elsewhere. I really want to take the time right now to say thank you to all of you. You know, I always say about how we're learning together, and that is important to me. And I guess, yeah, that's also why I made these videos, because I want you to be able to learn how to read your own birth chart and get familiar with it yourself, because I think it's so important for us to be able to look into our own charts on a very personal level, because our charts are so personal to us. So maybe these videos can help you and help others who don't know about astrology, and maybe you want to introduce them to it as well. So who knows, I hope in my own way that I could provide some sort of service to you from these videos. And again, just thanks for all of your subscriptions, comments, likes, whatever, just for interacting, for being here, learning, watching, tuning in, whatever. Thank you guys. Alright guys, that's me. Alright guys, I'm gonna go and enjoy my Saturday. Gonna enjoy it. Thanks all so much for watching. Thank you for subscribing. And if you would like to see more videos from myself, then go right ahead and click that subscribe button. And I will be back with another video very, very soon. Bye!